Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to Investing Possibility Conscious Community. Thank you, everybody, for being here live now on the Zoom. And thank you guys for also watching on the replay on YouTube if you're watching this on the replay. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. I just want to thank you guys for being here and showing up for yourselves and showing up for your community and your future generation. We got a jam-packed of information class today. We're talking trust, we're talking law, we're talking syncretism. And I just want to let you guys know that for the people that have been donating, I thank you guys so much. All my links are in the bio. And I just want to show gratitude and appreciation for you guys. You guys see me doing the hard work. You guys see me sharing the knowledge. I'm helping you guys in the background. So I appreciate you guys giving donations. And I just want to give a shout out to every single one of you who are donating. And I appreciate you guys wholly because this is helping the mission. This is supporting the mission of getting this knowledge out here. And I'm so glad to see people popping in and saying, what's up? So what's up, guys? Thank you guys for being here. And I just want to let you guys know we have a special, amazing, magnificent guest, divine being divine, better known as Julio Castro. He is the authentic author of the Hearth book. And he's going to share a little bit about his Hearth book today. And we're talking syncretism, and he's here today. And me and him have been on a journey in and out of all of this knowledge. He was somebody who helped wake me up and understand this reality and go in depth and learn how to go inside myself and learn how to meditate, learn how to, diverse this knowledge and get an understanding of it. He would tell us to go watch Santos Bonacci videos, and without Santos and meeting Divine, I couldn't have understand this reality the way that I could. And I appreciate Santos for showing us the way, lighting the path. And I think Divine being Divine, better known as Julio Castro, he's our guest today. And we're going to be sharing a whole bunch of enlightening information. So open your minds, think outside the box, and use your discernment and do your own research. And again, this is not financial advice. This is my opinion. This is for entertainment purposes only. And without further ado, I would love to introduce you guys to not only a good friend of mine, one of the people who I look up to, one of my mentors, one of the people who I've studied side by side to, Divine being Divine. Why don't you show your beautiful face, Divine? You on, Divine. There he goes, Divine. Welcome to the team. Can we hear him? Unmute him.
Sorry. Hello, everyone. So his last name is actually Bonacci. I think
Correct.
you said it.
Correct. What's
But
going
yeah,
on, Divine? How you
so basically,
doing?
I was promised by a good friend that they would help me pay my child support. But now, since they're not helping me, it's fine. I actually see it as everything is divine. I learned everything except law. So now I'm forced to learn law so I can discharge my child support. So that's what I'm ready to do. I'm ready to represent myself and go up there and be the living man that I am and prove that I am. And Santos was like, go for it. Go prove you're a living man. I was like, all right. So I'm ready. And it's all about not just, well, it's just, I know that we are the spirit, not the body. We're not just, Ken Wheeler says, you're not the flesh suit you see in the mirror when you brush your teeth. So it's important for us to know that we're not this body, which is, it's the vessel. You are in the vessel. And it's like the Santos Bonacci said, the all capital letters name is, it's all capital, and the word cap is your head. So decapitated means you don't have a head. So Santos said the all caps name is your decapitated self, it's your dead body. And he said, you don't, he's like, you if you claim to be that dead person, then anybody else can claim things as you because you're not claiming it as you. You're claiming you're dead. You're not alive. You're decapitated. You're kaput. So your parents did not write your name all capitals when you were born. They wrote capital J, lowercase u, lowercase l, and that's my name, Julio, with only the first letter capital. So when you get pulled over, you owe us this much money. No, that person, that dead person owes you money, not me. I'm alive. So I just want
Right.
to say that it's pretty much that simple. You just have to know what you're trying to, it's not about memorizing things, it's mostly about understanding without a script. I am living. I am not my body. I am not the all capital letters name. My parents didn't write that. It's simple. It's the truth. And lies need to be defended by more lies, but the truth stands on its own. Thank you, Santos.
I love good Santos knowledge. I love it. Why don't you share a little bit about your journey with what you went through learning this knowledge? I want you to share a little bit of your Hearth book. I want you to share all is Atum, the Taurus field. I want you to share your divine tattoos. Explain to my community. I've seen you when you were just a shell, and I know you wear your tattoos prideful and with so much authenticity. I've seen you get your tattoos and you wear your book all over you. And I just want to share you with the community. And I want you to share a little bit about, the journey that we've been on, the beautiful Hearth book that you wrote, because I love sharing that with the community and having people expand their consciousness, because this community is all about expanding their consciousness. And I want to share all is Atum. And I've seen you in your basement writing this whole book, the Hearth book. So go ahead and share a little bit more about, the Hearth book. I also want you to share Noah's Ark that you sent me
All right. Yeah, so I have
earlier. So if you want to start off with Noah's Ark and let
sure.
them know what's, I would love for you to read that, because you reading it enlightened me. And I know a lot of stuff, but that book enlightened me.
Of course.
So
So check this out.
share it.
So I had a friend who was Muslim and reads the Quran, and because I always say, God and Allah are just Yahweh or Yaldabaoth. They're the demiurge in the Bible that thinks he's the creator, but it's really Sophia.
Yep.
So he's ignorant and he's self-centered. That's why he says, "Worship me and no one else." And they say he just tells the Israelites to take back the promised land and to destroy anybody who's there and to take it back. So they justify it by saying, it says you're not supposed to hurt people only if God tells you you can. But that's not, it should never be hurt people, right? So the Noah's Ark, this new book is about building your ark so you don't drown. God punished all the people in the world, but told Noah, if you build your boat, you'll be saved. So this book is called Noah's Ark. So you're building your ark of knowledge, of wisdom. You're just building your ark of protection. So that's what the trust contract is about. You need a trust. A trust is a contract. That contract, it there's a saying in the Bible, the pen is mightier than the sword, but then the Bible also says the tongue is mightier than the pen. So it's about having that knowledge to to basically, if it's written down, it's like it's permanent. It's supposed to be forever. It's permanent unless someone alters it or changes it. But that's why you can, carve it in stone. Like I would have it carved in stone. This is my property. This is mine. So that's the reason why they carved in stone in Egypt as well. And today we just write on paper, but it's better to have it forever. So this is the book called Noah's Ark: Guide to Generational Wealth and Liberation. So the point I was saying is the dude who was Muslim, he said, "Yeah, but God is Allah." He's like, "I don't take it literally." So he told me he doesn't believe in Allah as some dude in the clouds. He said the Bible is all law. So I was reading, so he taught me how to read the Bible through the eyes of law because I read it through the eyes of astrology thanks to Santos. But it's like a trip, it's like layered. It doesn't just teach you about astrology, it teaches you about your body and it teaches you about law. So what I want to talk about today is commerce, which is common law for common man on common ground. Back then, when you went to, it's called a trial because you're supposed to have three judges, a tribunal. We go to trial today and there's one judge. It's not fair. There's supposed to be like 12 judges in a circle around you while you're trying to prove your innocence. When you watch American Idol, there's three judges, not one. So why do we get one when we're trying to prove our innocence? So so basically we need to go back to having juries and people and three judges. So It's not fair. We need to go. It's common law for common man on common ground. When you go to the court, the judge is above you. He's on higher ground, and you're below him, so you have to look up. And that's not fair. We need to all be eye level. So, so I'm going to read my story without further ado. This is Noah's Ark, Guide to Generational Wealth and Sovereignty. The word sovereignty is two words. It's super, which is solver, and reign, which is rulership. You are superior to anyone else's rulership. You are your own ruler. You are the ruler to your own life. No one else governs you but yourself. So, the modern ark, what is a trust? A trust is a private contract. It says who owns what, the trust, who controls it, the trustee, and who benefits from it, the beneficiary. When you sign and seal a trust, you separate your true wealth from your legal person, your straw man. This is how kings stay kings, families stay sovereign, and corporations stay immune. This is how you step out of the flood. And one more thing, Santos said freedom just means free within their dominion. You don't want freedom because they say America has freedom, but you have to stop at the red light or you go to jail if you get too many tickets. So am I free or not? You're free within their dominion within certain laws. So you're not actually free. It's freedom. It's dumb if you think you're free. So it's sovereignty is what we need, and not sovereign citizenship, because you're either a citizen or you're sovereign. You have to pick one. It's just sovereignty. So when the trust, the temple, the ark, a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. So the reason Jesus got crucified on the cross, which just means you get pinned to your straw man, and you don't know how to disassociate and unattach from it, and you got binded to it because you signed your contract when they said you got pulled over and they said you need to go to court and you signed it, but the court was assigned to the all capital letters name, which you identify as when you put, yes, I am so and so, John Doe. So Solomon had a temple, Noah had an ark, and David had a house in the Bible. Jesus didn't have a trust, he didn't have a domain, he didn't have a bank or institute or anything. So in ancient times, kings were buried under castles, pharaohs were sealed in tombs, prophets laid in caves. Why? To anchor their family's claim to the land forever. The land became sacred ground, protected by custom and divine right. Today, we bury our wealth the same way, not in earth, but in a trust. Not in the earth, but in a trust. A trust is a living vault, your ark, that keeps what's yours, beyond the reach of pirates, debt collectors, and dishonest partners. So, we're talking about pirates because this is maritime law, and commerce, common law for common man on common ground, is on it's law of the land, not law of the ocean, of the water. So Jesus walked on water, which just means he walked on land and he was above maritime law. Maritime, marines. Uh, Jesus was born of Mary just means that the sun rises out of the mare, which is the ocean. Maria means ocean, mare. No, mare means ocean, Maria means oceans. So he's born out of all the oceans, not just one, not just the east side, the west side. He comes out of the ocean and goes back into the ocean. Thank you, Santos. So the cave of Machpelah, a hidden key in the Quran. In the Quran, there's a story that most people read right past, but it's a piece of hidden law about ownership. When Abraham's wife dies, he wants to bury her in a cave. So he asks God if he can do so, but God warned him, if you do this carelessly, your sons will be enslaved. What does this mean? On the surface, it sounds like a warning, but it's also a code. When you bury your kin under the ground, that ground becomes yours. It's sacred burial ground, and by ancient law, it cannot be sold or seized because it holds the dead. That's why kings were buried in their castles. It's why the pharaohs sealed themselves in tombs. It's why families once buried loved ones on family land, not a corporate cemetery far, far away. Why? Because the burial anchors the claim. If you bury her under someone else's deed, you lose control. The system owns the ground under your own family, but if you do it right, you hold that forever. Today, your trust is that cave. It's where you bury your legacy, your art, your books, your house, your land, your music, your scripts, anything. It's your vault beneath your feet, your living vault. That single act of planting the body binds you to the land by divine and common law. It makes the land family land, a living trust held through blood. The hidden warning in the Quran story is if you do this wrong, if you bury your people on land controlled by someone else's deed, your children stay enslaved to their system. But if you do it right, you stand on your ground forever. Did I read that already? Um, this principle lives on. It's why big families used to have burial plots on the homestead. It's why ancient estates stay in families for centuries. It's why the system now pushes you to pay strangers for plots you can't truly claim. The deeper message, you don't have to bury bodies, you can bury your own works, your name, your assets in a trust, a vault, a cave, a living ark. This is your modern cave of Machpelah, a place of ownership where your family's freedom stays rooted in the earth beyond the reach of pirates and paper pushers. So Jesus walking on water, one more time, it's above maritime law, admiralty law, the law of the sea. So when Jesus walks on water, it's seen as a mystical statement that he's above the jurisdiction of maritime law. He's not subject to the commerce system that rules most people. Sovereign, if you hold your assets properly in a trust, you too walk on water. This is why it's called Noah's Ark, because I realized that I always knew since I was little, why does Noah have two of each animal? It's because it's a metaphor that it's called a bank because it's a river bank. So you have flow, which is currency, and you don't want to drown in that river. You want to hold on to the edge of the river, which is the river bank. So you need a bank to hold on. You need an ark to keep you afloat. So inside a bank, the paper money that you have is actually a copy. It's a printout version of the gold that's supposed to be under the bank or in the vault. So imagine this. You're supposed to have all your things in the vault, and you're supposed to make copies, and you're actually supposed to mail the original thing to yourself, and then the copies is what gets displayed. So if you go to a school and you look at the transcripts, the originals are buried somewhere and only the copies are presented and you get the copy. So dollar bills are just copies, like Noah had two of each animal. The original stays underground and then the copy is in the surface. So in that boat, you have two of each animal. In your house, underneath you in your vault, you'd have the original, but above ground, you'd have the copy. And that's just the point, is when you mail something to yourself and you never open it, it's illegal to open it. So you can save that forever, forever, timeless, eternity. Nobody can open it. So you just keep, so that's what copies are about. It's about copywriting and notarizing and certifying. And you want to secure yourself, and it's just making it, and it's kind of crazy because I always thought, like, why get buried in with all this gold? Because we're not, you don't live, you're only here for a certain time, and why hoard all of it if you can't take it with you? So now we're starting to see why they did that, because I mean, you work hard and you want to not just work hard, you have a big heart. You want to make sure that your generation is not enslaved and taken care of. You're doing it for your line. And we're not really handed down castles from our parents, but that's what we want to be, that we want to start, we want to hand down something to our children. So, and that's the main point of this, is we want to know how we can do that, how we can set up generational wealth. And honestly, this is why all those mansions and palaces have paintings, huge paintings, because those paintings, those are creations. Those are assets. It's like gold or diamonds, a single painting, because nobody can replicate that. You did that. So, so yeah, I recommend more of us to have, it don't have to be a Mona Lisa painting. It could just be scribbles, but that's your scribbles and that's no one else's. And you can patent that. Like Basquiat used to just draw whatever and people loved it. It wasn't even like with rulers, and it wasn't sharp. It was just his own, it was soulful. It's just, it's your own, from the ether, it's your own imagination. So that's priceless. So that's what I'm saying, is we're all wealthy and abundant beyond our wildest imaginations. And we just have to make that real. The word becomes flesh means you solidify it, you certify it, notarize it, copyright it, and you bury it. So anyways, I'm almost done here. Trusts and lawsuits, the modern vision. If your legal name, the corporate person created by the state, it's called a corporate person. It's a corpse. It's dead. Thank you, Santos. It's kaput, all caps. Doesn't own your assets, but your private trust does. So if your legal name doesn't own your assets, your private trust does. Then creditors or plaintiffs can't easily touch those assets. So you can't be sued for what you don't technically own. The trust owns it. You just benefit. This is how the elite bury their wealth. They remove it from their personal name and place it above the waterline of maritime law. Crucifixion equals nailed to the straw man. Yeah, Jesus gets nailed to the cross. It's read as him being pinned to his legal identity, the all caps name. Santos Bonacci's wordplay cap is from caput, which means head. That's why decapitated means head removed. So if you lost your living status and exist only, if you identify as the all caps, then you lose your living status. And since we're talking about maritime law, they consider you abandoned or lost at sea. And that's how they can claim your assets because you're abandoned, you're not there. But if you're lost at sea, it just means you're guilty until proven innocent, or you're lost until you can prove you're found, or you were never lost. And that's how I felt was unfair. Shouldn't we all be innocent till proven guilty and not dead or guilty until proven the opposite? I have to prove that I'm alive. I have to prove that I'm not guilty. What? Why don't you prove that I'm dead? Why don't you prove that I'm guilty instead of me proving that I'm innocent? I claim I'm innocent until I'm proven guilty. How about that? So we need to flip the script. So the Gospels encode hidden instructions for reclaiming sovereignty, not just spiritual, but legal. Renter unto, this is from the Bible. In Matthew 22:21, the Pharisees ask Jesus if it's lawful to pay taxes to Caesar. It's a trap question. Because if he says yes, he's a Roman collaborator. If he says no, he's a rebel. So do you pay your taxes? Trick question. So Jesus says this. He says, render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and render unto God the things that are God's. So here's the interpretation. Caesar is the state, the worldly system, the ruler of the legal commerce world. The coin is man-made. It's a symbol of debt, currency, the fiction. What is God's? You, your soul, your living essence, your divine breath. That's not Caesar's. So the line says, don't confuse the legal fiction with the living man. Caesar is the body, God is the spirit. So he said, render unto Caesar what is his, because his face was on the coin. Those are his coins. So render to him what's his, but render to me what's mine. When it says God, render to God what is God's. Because we're not just one part, we're a two-part constituent. You're not just flesh human. You are the word made flesh. You're word and flesh, which is, you can't see sound. You're in your spirit and matter, not just matter. And that's the Christ in you. You're not just Jesus, you're Jesus Christ, which is the body has consciousness. Almost done here. So I guess that's it. It's just most people identify with their corporate name. They think they're the debt slave person, the straw man, and so they get trapped in Caesar's world. But if you walk on water, meaning you separate your soul from the corporate vessel, you render only what's due. The corporate fiction pays taxes. The living soul does not. Serve the system only with what belongs to it. Money forms the name, but keep your true self sovereign and devoted to the divine. Simple. And I'll finish there.
Love that. I love that, Divine. Thank you so much for sharing Noah's Ark. And, I just want to touch up a little bit what you were talking about. Like, the reason why they have us in the all caps name is because we are still, like, the community knows that we are still we are a minor, right? So that's why they're still controlling our accounts. That's why they're still holding our assets. And when we become alive and enlightened, that's when we become age of majority. That's when we certify our letters. That's when we notarize our paper. That's when we bury it in our vault and put it in our trust, because our trust is what's going to protect us, and our trust is the protector of our assets. And we are going to control everything and own nothing, because the trust is going to own everything. And you have to convey, and convey means to transfer. So when you transfer the certificate of titles into the trust, the all caps name no longer owns it, and you are coming out of from outer minor into major. And this is, why they trick us with legalese, and they trap us, and they make us claim that we are this all caps name when we go in and we raise our right hand, and they always ask, are you John Doe, and what is your address? Because there's a book out there that our community has been reading. I shared it in my Telegram group. So if you guys want to get in the Telegram group, shoot me a DM on Investing Possibility. I'll let you guys into the Telegram group, but send me a DM and I'll share the link with you guys. We share a lot of wisdom in there, knowledge and facts. Thank you, Divine, for that. I got that, saying from Divine. And, because that's what we're doing here. We're enlightening you guys with the knowledge that we've studied and the knowledge that we have acquired. And we couldn't have done it without each other. And, Divine went more on the syncretism of what Santos was teaching, and I went more on the law. And now me and Divine are meeting in the middle, because he's going through some law stuff that he wants to learn more about. And I'm like, that's all the stuff I'm starting to learn about. And, he enlightened me with the syncretism, with making the drawings, making the Hearth book that I saw with my own eyes being made. And, I appreciate the Hearth book. I appreciate Divine, I appreciate Santos, and Marina Jacoby. These are all the people who have shared their knowledge with us, and we're teaching ourselves how to get out of their system. So therefore, we're teaching the community how to get out of the system. We got to start learning how to become a trustee. A trustee manages, and we have to delegate. We have to make sure that the beneficiaries are benefiting from the trust. Not only are we a trustee of these trusts that we're creating, we are also the beneficiaries. So, and also the beneficiaries are the other trusts, depending on how you layer your trust. The beneficiaries are your generation, children's children. That's what the Bible tells us to do, is to leave a inheritance for our grandchildren's children. And, we're connecting all the dots. We're learning the work. Patrick Divine shares a lot of knowledge on how to get the paperwork done, minister Be Better. These are people who mentor, who I call my mentor. And, we're here to give you guys the information. We're also creating a guide to help you guys exonerate your all caps name, because your all caps name is the estate. And that's where you're going to get it. You're going to go to irs.gov and you're going to get a state EIN as the sole proprietor of this strawman name. And now you, as a living man and woman, are coming out of minor into age of majority, meaning you are able to govern yourself. If you don't know accounting, if you don't know a ledger, if you don't know how to balance books, or if you don't know what a P&L is, I highly suggest you guys start learning what all of these are. If you guys do know about them, we've been teaching this on the classes. This is our 9th video we've actually doing right now. And that's a big, goal of mine. I'm, starting this channel. I didn't know it was going to grow to how big it's grown. We already have 2,000 views on the YouTube channel. If you haven't seen the other shows, I have them all on Investing Possibility YouTube. And, without us learning through this journey and connecting, because that's how you guys are going to get this information, by connecting and by sharing the wealth of knowledge, because that is where the true power lies in, is knowing. We're coming out of the age of Pisces and now we're in the age of Aquarius, and that's the age of knowing. And that's what Santos has, taught us, that we are coming out of the age of believing in religion, right? Out of the Piscean and believing in a religion. Like, what religion do you believe in? What religion, what ethics do you believe in? What morals do you believe in? Into now knowing. And because you can't believe something and know something. It's either you know or you don't know. And it's okay to not know. There's a lot of stuff that I don't know yet, but all the stuff that I'm learning and the Divine is sharing with us, and that Santos and Minister, and we're all getting on the same page, and we're all creating community, because community stands for come and unite. So when you unite with the community, you're going to be expanding your consciousness, and it all represents like who you're going to be for your future generation. I just finished the book, The Art of War. And in the book, it says discipline is one of the only ways to win this war, and knowing who you are, because no enemy can battle you in battle if you don't know who you are. If you don't know who you are, you're going to lose the battle. Only when you go into battle knowing who you are, knowing and imagining you already winning the battle, then the journey, the war becomes easier to win. And, I highly suggest reading The Art of War. And it helps explain on how to battle this. Yes, I love The Art of War too. And it's actually right here on top of my Bible. That's how you tell I'm reading it. It has a whole bunch of sayings on it. I've read it a couple times. And it's all about the laws of human nature. The Bible is a banking book. The Bible is a law book. The Bible is all about the rules, basic instructions before leaving Earth, or leaving your estate. actually. Somebody actually pointed that out to me. It's basic instructions before leaving your estate, because your estate is your all caps name. And it is instructions. It is not to be taken literal and to be taken into consideration that they're parables. And it's meant to be decoded. And I love decoding this matrix. I love decoding all of this, you know, and I couldn't have done it without knowing who I am. In the Hearth book that Divine created, it teaches us who we are, that we are all is attuned, all is matter, all we have a torus field of data and knowledge all around us. You can't see the frequencies, you can't see the knowledge, you can't see the numbers, you can't see the codes unless you go inward and actually see
Can I add to that real
these
quick?
codes and actually know these methods. Absolutely. Would
So
love that.
look, know
Show me your
thyself.
picture. I can't see you.
So know thyself was written on, it was written in Greek on the walls, and it was written in Egypt. So they,
Show your picture, Divine. Show your picture. There you
it's
go.
know thyself is a
Beautiful.
philosophical maxim that was inscribed upon the temple of Apollo in the ancient Greek precinct of Delphi. It is also one of the cardinal concepts in ancient African sacred wisdom inscribed into the walls of Egyptian temples. Know thyself. So when you read on the wall, know thyself, KRS-One, he said you're supposed to say it without moving your lips. So you're supposed to say the word know thyself. And if you can hear that, if you can hear yourself saying it, he says the next question you ask yourself is, who just spoke if you didn't move your lips? So if you answer it and say, "Oh, it was my inner voice, my mind." Well, then who listened to that sound? Who just listened to what you just said? Who spoke it and who listened? So there's a speaker and there's a listener, and basically, um here's the point. Instead of telling you that, that's one way to do it, to prove, who are you? You're not your mouth speaking, you're the thoughts before the mouth is even spoken. So know thyself when you say it in your head, who's speaking, who's listening? The soul, the mind, the body. You're not just one person. There's, you know what I mean? There's a it's a three-part, soul, mind, body. So your soul's listening, your mind's speaking, and if you moved your lips, it would be your body. But here's another way. They're talking about the temple of Apollo in Greece, in ancient Greek of Delphi. So the Oracle of Delphi. This is my next book, Oracles and Oils. I'm just going to briefly say this is important because today we're trying to tell people, look, you're not your body. But back then they didn't tell you. They would just, the Oracle of Delphi, what she did was she would sit above these cracks above the earth and gas would pour out and she would be intoxicated by the fumes. And so she would have an out of body experience. And so when she came back down to earth, she would know thyself because she experienced disassociation from her body, like we're talking about. Disassociate from your straw man. You're not your body. They weren't told that. They were experiencing that. So that's something I want to is important is that back in the day, it was known that you're not your body. And now they demonize it and they don't want you to, drugs, they call it drugs, but back then medicine and that was no different. They were all the same. It's just how much you get of something that makes it a poison or a drug. You can, it's all moderation. You can be um, just too much of anything is bad. Too much water is bad. So anyways, it's just know thyself was in Greece and Egypt because it was a metaphysical thing. And I just think it's so brilliant. Why don't we have know thyself written on the temples still? We don't even have temples anymore. It's just buildings with billboards.
Yep, and that's why they keep us trapped in this cube. They keep us trapped in squares because energy gets stagnant in the corners of these squares. And it, in the back ancient times, they created everything in a dome because they understood how frequencies work. They knew that when they rang a bell over here, that's why they got rid of all the bells, right? And you don't see bells anymore. And that's why they got rid of all of the bells, because that would irritate and expose the illusion of the demons. The demons couldn't walk around like they do now in plain sight, so that's why you got to get your frequency up, your vibration up. And this is why I always tell everybody vibe high, vibrate high. And what I mean by vibrate high is become enlightened, become joyful, be grateful, be authentic. When you show up for yourself every day and showing up for yourself. That means not doom scrolling, detoxing, eating the proper food, getting your body, right? Because this is our 3D flesh, is our body. Because when you go to sleep and you dream, you're in the astrals, which is your 4D, and your consciousness is anchored in the 5D. That's why you have premonitions. A lot of us, that are connecting on this community, we have premonitions, we have visions. That's us connecting. Marina Jacobi talks about how we are on a quantum field and how we have been inverted with negative codes, because everything is codes. And this is why I go so heavy on meditation, and why I go so heavy on detoxing and fasting, because your body, every time you put sugar in your mouth, every time you put toxins in your body, you're polluting your body. And that feeds the parasites, because that's how the parasites thrive. That's why they are doing chemtrails and 5G cell towers, and give us a phone that's square. Our TVs are square. And this is all sigils. The way that they create the power button is a sigil. Every time you hit a power button, it's like you're worshiping the lower vibrations, right? Because every time you turn your TV on, you're hitting the power button. And sigils hold power. That's why when we write, we can write our own sigil with our own intentions and our own purposes. And this is what I tell you guys on the other videos, that trust is about intentions and purpose. What are you writing down in your trust? Your trust is your private document. Nobody is supposed to see your trust indenture. Nobody, that's your private, right? Because we also have public trust, that is living revocable or irrevocable trust that we can have in the public and register EIN for. And the private trust, the UCC covers, UCC1 covers the security interest of the trust. That's why you don't register private trusts, but you do get them authenticated, you do get them certified, you do put them on the record, and everything in that trust is protected, all the assets, your birth certificate, when you convey, which means transfer again, into the trust, you put your birth certificate in there, your children's birth certificate, your bank account, your titles of your certificates, your mortgage, right? You can convey that all to the trust, and a trust cannot be sued, a trust cannot be penetrated as long as you have it protected. That's why I go so hard with people asking me, questions like, what is it irrevocable? I can't help you with these answers. You have to watch my videos. You have to understand these words. What does irrevocable mean? Revocable, living. What does estate mean? What does trust mean? The word trust means protector, right? Remedy means to heal. So what are you healing in your lineage? Are you waking up every day with negative thoughts like, oh my God, how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to pay my taxes? That lowers your frequency, that lowers your vibration. If you know who you are, start writing down, I am not this all caps name. I am a divine, living, breathing woman or man with flesh and blood running through me, because every heartbeat is a moment in time that you get to make a decision, and you get to decide to go outside and vibrate with nature, or you can go and doom scroll. You have that free will. God gave us that free will to choose. So who are you being for yourself? How are you showing up every day? What are you addicted to? Can you detox from that, right? And, we shared on our last two videos, I think it was video number 6 and 7, we talked about parasite cleansing. My twin shared a lot of information on parasite cleansing and how she's detoxing her body. And that gives us room for all these wealth codes. Minister talks about hypnotherapy, and how hypnotherapy can help us reprogram our subconscious mind. Because if you know you're being programmed, why don't you become the programmer? Because your thoughts, your 700 to 800,000 thoughts you have in one day are the same thoughts you had yesterday and the day before and the day before, until you change those thoughts. So what thoughts are you feeding yourself? And that's why, I love learning about, all is a tomb in our Taurus fields, and that we're electromagnetic beings. And yes, we are all being radiated. Yes, we are all being attacked. We're all being gang stalked. Our frequency, when you're vibing high, you tend to see in your outside world negative things start to happen. So when you shift your perspective and start thinking about how these negative things are not happening to you, they're happening for you to elevate. I always talk about the alchemist, and how we're alchemists, how we turn lead into gold. How do we turn these negative moments into positive ones? You could feed the dragon or you could feed the angel, right? You could feed the negative vibration or you could feed the positive vibration. And it's which one are you feeding? Which dragon are you feeding? Which angel are you feeding? The more that you feed the negative energy, the more the outside world is getting ready to show you what is on the inside, because your outside is a reflection of your inside. So if negative things are happening, it means that needs to be transmuted. So start looking at situations like, why did that person cut me off? Why did I get a flat tire? Why did my mother say bad things to me? What, and then you start to see and shift your perspective, like, wow, that didn't happen for me towards me, it happened for me. So you get to shift the perspective and you get to be a better version of yourself, a higher version of yourself. So that's like the peeling the layers of the onion, and you're decoding your matrix. You're understanding who you are. I like to break down my birth chart and wonder how I tick, why I tick, and what triggers me, and what are my downfalls, what are my blind spots, right? Because I don't know my blind spots. And once you start to decode your astrology and start to understand and know thyself, then you get to understand why you act the way that you act or speak the way that you speak. Thank you for, divine being divine, enlightening me, and Santos enlightening me on astro-theology and breaking down what does my Sagittarius moon and sun mean, what does my Gemini Mercury mean, what does my Scorpio mean, and what do all the houses mean. And I started decoding all of this because of what Divine was sharing and what Santos was sharing. And I want to share this with you guys in the community, that you guys can decode your own matrix, and that you guys can start understanding why you guys maneuver the way that you maneuver, why things happen the way that they happen. Because I'm a Sagittarius, I want to know why everything happens, how, who, what, when, where, and all of the above and under, over and top, And
Can I say one thing
Divine, I want you to
before I
share
lose?
like a picture. Your drawings are amazing. I want to see some of your drawings from your book. Show
All
them.
right. Well, listen,
And I want them to
about the
purchase it from you.
electromagnetic field.
Yes.
A lot of people talk about the old world with the big doors, right? The huge doors. But the thing is, I'm realizing that I remember learning that if you put a goldfish in a small bowl, it's going to stay little. But if you put a goldfish in a bigger fish bowl or a fish tank, the goldfish will actually increase in size. So I don't think that the doors were meant for giant humans. I think it's just meant to, if you have a small doorway, then your aura around your body is going to be constricted. But if you have big doors, it allows for your field and your creativity and your mind and your thought waves to expand beyond the barrier of your skin, basically. So I think it was to amplify our fields, the huge, it's like putting a fish in a bigger tank. It allows for it to grow bigger, or else it's going to think, why grow bigger if I'm in a tiny space? It just limits your creativity. It limits everything. So I don't really, I don't have proof for the giant theory. I just don't see. Here's the thing. If big humans existed back then, I believe the trees would have been bigger too. So they wouldn't be giant because everything would have been bigger. So you really wouldn't tell the difference if you increase everything, then nothing is bigger than any, like, you know what I mean? Bigger humans, bigger trees, they would have still been shorter than the trees around them, is what I'm saying.
You know what I think also? With the doors, because I've been in construction
Yeah.
for a long time. With the giant doors, it also could have been, just basic functionality. I mean, do you see the type of marble that they brought inside of those things? Do you see how they have the structure? There had to be some type of rhyme and reason, some type of form and function to everything. Just like we got H2O. God, that's how we know that there's a God. His receipts are the elements. His receipts are everything that we clearly see, right? So when they created all of the domes, all of the temples, even in India, when they created those temples out of, sound vibration and cymatics, right? Somebody had to bring that stuff in. And if you're a construction worker, one thing you hate is some person or family, hey, I want this double-paned, triple-door refrigerator in this little cottage door frame. Yeah, I want you guys to just squeeze that in. You know what I mean? So sometimes it could have been actual functionality, you know what I mean? In addition to that resonant frequency, because even if you've seen cymatics or seen like how sign vibrates, the smaller the output area is, that's how the sound, turns from a whistle to a higher pitch sound. And I'm like, oh, that kind of makes a lot of sense too when you're using resonant frequency. And when you're trying to project that frequency outward, you got to think, like, even with bells, I was researching that earlier. So those things are tying all in. And the greatest thing about this whole journey is, I think that's what the true spiritual people are. We're trying to get free so that we can research more. We can go travel and physically touch these things, physically talk to the natural, native, indigenous people of every land. And we need to have the space of freedom to do that. If we're working 9 to 5, even if we get so ingratiated into the trust that we're working on that so much that we neglect the time for ourselves, we're neglecting the purpose. The purpose is to have the freedom to walk this earth and explore and enjoy and experience the human experience, not what somebody created or programmed. They programmed the decent human experience. Don't get me wrong. Now, if you ever, enjoyed this stuff, watch Rick and Morty, like, you kind of enjoy the human experience, right? Yet we are like, just like we've experienced, like, or researched a small percentage of the ocean, we've only experienced a small percentage of the human experience. And that goes into that reincarnation. Like, there's spirits and there's entities that's like, no, I want more, I want more. There's old souls that's like, man, I've done this before. I feel like I've been here before. Deja vu souls, empath souls, clairvoyant souls. Those are the souls that's like, hey, I need to get out this soul trap. And that's where we are now. We are all in these different realms, and we all need to communicate and find out which type of spirits and souls we are, because we tend to attach to familiarity, yet the age gap may be totally different. We could be the same age, but spiritually we may be, and we need to allow the freedom for those frequencies to resonate so we can see, so we can explore. We have people that are monks, are nuns, that have no care for anything else in this world. Who knows what their past life or their spiritual, like, brain works? Who knows if they can literally close their eyes and go somewhere physically? Why would you want to? You could be the laziest person on earth. Like, I'm good right here. I'll close my eyes and I'm gone. If you can genuinely do that metaphysically, like, who knows what is why? And that's where I'm at. I want to know what is what and why is what, and every other,
I know,
question.
right? That's why I thank you, Kevin, for that. I appreciate you for speaking. And that's, what we're learning here now. We're learning that, like, our words are our bond. It's a frequency. Our every letter, I follow gematria. If you guys don't know about gematria, every letter has a vibration. Every number has a vibration and a frequency. So when you say, I am tired, I am broke, I am scared, I am in fear, you're vibrating at a lower frequency compared to when I am enlightened, when I am in joy. When you're vibrating in higher frequencies, the lower frequencies can't touch you. And this is what I mean in, like, the other video I shared, that in my Investing Possibility YouTube, I was sharing, like, when you are in lower frequencies, that's where the dark entities live. That's where the shadow is. But if you don't know your shadow and you don't do your shadow work, that's where, you'll be scared and fearful. Like, I'm not afraid of my shadow. I know I have a shadow. Without my shadow, without my, past, life, I wouldn't have been able to see the brightness in the future. I wouldn't have been able to see my abundance. I always say I do my best work in the dark. I do my best work in the void because I'm familiar with that, right? We've been blinded. The illusion, the veil of the illusion has been lifted. So we are seeing that we are the light, that we are the vibration, that we are the frequency. So that's why I made this community, to get like-minded people together, because where 2 or more people are, that's where church is. Like, we're having church right now. Y'all are welcome to the church. You guys are the vessel. The vessel is the body. How are you treating your vessel? Are you building it up? Are you making it fat? What are you doing to your vessel? Without our body, that's what connects us to this 3D world, is our body. You can't see your mind. Nobody has ever seen your mind. You can see your brain, but your mind, you can't see. It's an imagination, right? So that's what you have, your mind, body, and spirit. And that's where our soul resonates. Like, if you have negative codes in your Taurus field, in your Taurus field is 7-foot radius. That's why in COVID, they said stay 6 feet apart, because they didn't want us waking up. I know my codes, my God frequency codes, which I call them, that when I get around somebody or when I speak to somebody, I know that my vibration of my voice, anybody listening to this video, is going to get my codes. Their codes are going to be overrun by my codes, because I am creating a space for you guys to expand consciousness. So I'm helping you guys rewrite your codes. I'm helping you guys reprogram your subconscious mind? What are you doing on the daily for your body? Are you becoming enlightened? And when you are enlightened, the negative energies can't affect you. If a negative person comes around you, that negative energy isn't going to affect you. And if you're feeling sad and depressed and that's something you don't normally feel, go out into nature. Mother Nature loves to take those codes, and Mother Nature loves to give you negative ions to let you, unload. Mother Nature knows exactly what to do with your negative codes. That's why I always tell everybody, go hug a tree, go vibe with a tree, go talk with
Yeah,
a
look,
plant.
a proof of that is that when a baby's crying, if a
Yes.
mother's holding her baby and she's in the house and the baby cries, while she's holding the baby, as soon as she puts her feet on the grass, the baby stops crying because the earth's resonance is going through the feet of the mother to the baby, and the earth's resonance is a 7.8 Schumann resonance, the ELF. It's an electromagnetic low frequency, and that low frequency is calming and it's peaceful. And oh, there's one more thing. The movie War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise,
Yes.
the aliens, I just decoded this movie like a couple months ago and I was blown away. I was like, how did no one
I
decode
love when
this?
you broke that down. When you broke that down, I love
So
that.
look,
War of the Worlds.
so in the movie, the tripods are already underground, and that's because that's basically your cells. You have cells already in your body. Think about blood cells in your vessels, in your veins or whatever. So the lightning bolt comes down, and that means that what's already in the earth is powered by something external. So your cells are going to get hijacked because we're already breathing in aluminum from the chemtrails. We have all these bad foods, and so no matter how much you detox, I don't say I'm not saying not to detox, but even if you detox, you have to constantly detox because we're always breathing in these fumes unless you live somewhere where they're not chemtrailing in Norway or something. So the point is that your best bet is if you knew that your immune system is 80% of your if your electromagnetic field makes up 80% of your aura, then you would say I need to then you say I'm good because as long as I have my electromagnetic field up, then I'm protected. So as soon as you start thinking negatively, your aura starts having holes in it and it's making up and now your immune system gets weaker because your electromagnetic field it's like in the movie War of the Worlds when those tripods have shields around them and they can't be penetrated. So you can shoot a bazooka and it won't go through that invisible wall. So it's telling you in the movie how they're going to attack you by hijacking your cells by putting something in you because those machines didn't come down, they were already here. That means they're just controlling what's already in you, and it's through foods, it's through all kinds of stuff. So those machines under the ground is just all the toxins stuff that we have. So what I'm saying is love keeps you from being hackable and programmed and hijacked.
Yes.
So
Preach.
as long as you're loving, you have that shield, and it's not just around your body. That shield actually is around each one of your cells. You can protect your cells from being infiltrated by synthetic DNA and whatever they're trying to
The
do.
proof, and the proof of that is the fact of even in quantum science and mathematics, we are literally touching nothing. Like nothing is touching anything. We are all like
Always a tomb.
microscopically close with, and we're transferring energy through vibration. So we all have those barriers that he's exactly talking about.
Yeah,
And
everything doesn't really touch. It repels like two magnets. They can never
yep,
get too close to each other.
yep. And that should give you proof right there. Like not only in the physical, but even in the metaphysical. Like she said, we can't see our spirit, we can't see our thoughts, right? Yet we have scientists, practitioners trying to, map our our electromagnetic brain. They're trying to map our dreams. They're trying to code all that stuff, right? They can get the signal, but they can't see the actual spirit coming to fruition, coming to thought. They can't see that. They can see the proof of that. We know that when we think or when we manifest something, there's an electromagnetic pulse. There's a signal there. What they did with all of this research is just opened us up to more enlightenment because now we have to ask those questions. It's like, whoa, how is that even possible? This is just a thing, a man-made thing with lights and numbers and binary code. Yet this computer program was able to attach itself to my electromagnetic frequency and map it. That right there should give all of us proof that there is so much more that we don't know, the fact that we know that little bit.
Yep,
That's
just like in the Matrix, you know, when they, Patrick Devine talks about how the Matrix is all coded and it's all numbers and letters. And if you pause at the end of the, this goes back to the trust. If you pause at the end of the Matrix, you'll see that they're 9 numbers. And what is 9 numbers? Our 9 numbers is our EINs and our socials, right? So what happens when Neo is fighting the agents? Who are the agents? The agents are the bar. It is the bank. It is the judges, because they're in Jesuit suits, right? And then Neo is still in the suit. And then what happens when he becomes awakened and in enlightenment? He has his own armor on at the end when he's fighting the agents, because now he knows who he is, because he studied who he is. And in the Matrix, Patrick Devine talks about, like, we need the three EINs. Everything goes in threes, right? Minister shares that everything goes in threes, right? Everything is a tribunal. Tri is 3. Start learning etymology and breaking down what these words actually mean. And everything, it comes in threes, and you need 3 EINs, private and public in your estate, trust, and plan. You got to plan this. And that's how Neo gets out of this matrix and wakes up and plugs from the matrix, and he found Trinity, and Trinity's 3, everything comes in 3. That's his love of his life, right? That's when he starts to awaken. She activates his awakening codes. Men are supposed to protect. Men, the masculine is a protection. Women are feminine is creation. So the woman, yes, it's all about nurturing and knowledge. And Sophia, when he was talking earlier about Sophia's knowledge, wisdom, and facts.
And the oracle was the one to give him the completion.
Exactly. And then he asked the oracle, like, aren't you part of the simulation? And she's like, I don't know, am I? And but the oracle knew when she offered him the piece of candy, and he's like, well, you already know if I'm going to take it or not. I shared that on my stories the other day. And is she real or not? But she's there to enlightenment. And that's how he goes there. That's like his way of enlightening himself, is decoding this matrix, finding out who the agents are, finding out, and then what happens at the end. None of the agents' bullets can penetrate him. Like in the War of the Worlds, how Divine was explaining how we are awakened, when we protect our Taurus field, when we protect our electromagnetic field. Now that you know that you are an electromagnetic being, what are you going to create? Are you going to create more abundance, or are you going to create more bullshit? Truthfully, right? Like, who are you going to feed? Are you going to feed the system, or are you going to feed higher grounds?
It's yeah, what are you going to feed? Doubt. What is it? It's like this. If you believe the lie, you'll be afraid and weaken your own field. But if you don't believe the lie and you know the truth, then your field will just be amplified, because you're just like, bring it on. Like, I'm not afraid. And if you are afraid, that's kind of like how sharks can sharks won't bite you unless you're afraid, because now they can smell your blood.
Yep,
Because
I'm not afraid when I go in the ocean.
when you're afraid, adrenaline goes into your blood, because your adrenal glands release adrenaline into your bloodstream. Now your blood has a different smell.
And
So
that
now
goes with all feral beasts, from dogs to sharks to every animal. They can smell it. It changes your makeup, your pheromones. It changes that
exactly,
aura.
not just physically, but metaphysically, it lowers your aura and it brings your shields down. And that's how
they harvest our energy.
well, in War of the Worlds, that's how they destroy the tripods. Is they noticed that birds were landing on like directly onto the machine. So they said, look, the birds are not affected by the shield. The shields are down, and that's how they took it down. And if you watch the movie, at the end, the aliens, when they die due to bacteria of natural Earth, natural bacteria. So that means nature always wins. The movie told you. Even these aliens with huge machines, a little bacteria killed them. So that means it's just that little faith that you have that can save you. That little
mustard
knowing,
seed.
that little knowledge,
mustard seed,
that little bit of love that
And
can
that's the key.
overpower.
If you're confused about how to live life, how to do this thing we call life, follow nature. Nature is the blueprint, the DNA on how to live life righteously. You plant a seed in the dirt, you follow the rules of that.
Nature is spiral.
Yeah, you get a result. You see how the animals move and shake. A squirrel don't try to go around and be a dog. A dog don't change up in the middle of the day and say, I'm gonna, because I like the way that squirrel's moving, I'm gonna do some squirrel stuff. There's a point and a place for everything. Nature shows you that. And if you start paying attention to nature, literally, and follow nature, literally copying how nature works, you may look a little crazy to the rest of the world, but I guarantee your energy, your frequency, your happiness will be a lot more abundant. And I attribute that to me literally observing a lot more, I would say not homeless people, but people who live on the land. There are places in America that literally appreciates the quote unquote homeless. They allow them to move in and operate freely because they know something we don't. Yeah.
Yeah, they do know because they're resonating at a different frequency. And so they're vibrating at a different frequency, right? So they're giving out their codes, they're giving out their energy. And a lot of people, when they're starting to become enlightened, they're going to start seeing friends and family question them. And when they start to question you, don't take it as, oh, they're being hateful or they're being rude. Remember, they don't know what they don't know. And remember, you guys are becoming enlightened and you are sharing, you have this newfound knowledge. That's why we look crazy to some of our friends and family, because they don't know what they don't know. And that's when we got to be authentic and genuine with them and be like, okay, remember at a time and point, you didn't know what you didn't know. I know 10 years ago, I didn't know this information. You know, thank God for following Santos Bonacci. A lot of his, videos that he had on YouTube have been wiped. He had 10 years of videos up there. And thank God, Divine pointed me in the right direction on which videos to follow. And I got to watch all of his videos before YouTube wiped them off. That's why I made this, Instagram and my YouTube channel, so I can have something for my children's children to watch, and I have them being able to learn. I'm their biggest teacher. So I want them to learn all of this. I want them to know how to become a trustee. I want them to know how to become a grantor. I want them to know how to become a beneficiary. I want them to know how to become a protector of their own self. Right now, my children may not know what they don't know, and that's okay, because they have been indoctrinated in the schools. Just as we have been indoctrinated in the schools. And I'm not saying it was the easiest thing to decode, because I had to learn that I am the programmer, right? Because this is like a video game and you are the programmer of your own reality. You can let people penetrate your shield. That's why God says in the Bible, put the armor of God on. Every morning you wake up, the devil goes, fuck, this bitch is awake. Sorry, my French. But yeah, because the devil, I don't let the devil penetrate me. Yes, I could feed on those lower vibrations and then I'll have shame, fear, guilt, but I know how to get rid of those codes. And Mother Nature, like Kevin was saying, go out into nature. Mother Nature is all about spiral. Mother Nature knows exactly what to do. My name is Tara, so means earth. So I've always been grounded in earth. And I love that, that I'm learning all of this information and decoding my matrix. And when I say matrix means womb, means system. What system am I feeding? Am I feeding my all caps name? Am I feeding my sovereignty, right? Because when you become sovereign, you become your own, you govern your own self, right? Because now you're moving in a way that nobody can mess with you, right? Because you're protected under God's law, because you put your bylaws and your trust indenture and your trust res. You're learning what a trust resolution is. You're learning what a trust indenture is. You're learning what minutes are. You're learning what trust credit units are, right? How are the beneficiaries going to benefit? Do you want to pay them in Federal Reserve notes? Do you want to pay them in trust credit units? You got to start studying how a trust is broken down. We do trust law every day, right? With just ourselves. And we're reprogramming our mind. We're reprogramming these contracts that we got into unbeknownst to us, right? When we signed the birth certificate, we gave away our children to the state. When we wake up every morning, you call dominion over yourselves. So who are you being again for yourself? This is homework I want you guys to work on until next week. And I'll keep telling the community every week, every day almost. I always share on my stories how to start reprogramming your subconscious mind and meditating and quieting the monkey mind, right? The monkey mind's going to always do what monkey mind does. And it's always going to penetrate. It's always going to want to penetrate, right? Those negative thoughts are always going to be there. So now that you know that those negative thoughts are always going to be there, now you can replace them with positive thoughts. It takes 7 seconds for a negative thought to create momentum, just 7 seconds. So if you know that that negative thought can go for 7 seconds and create momentum and create more negativity, now that you know that, replace that negative thought with a positive thought and let that positive thought after 7 seconds get momentum. And then you're going to start seeing, when you start waking up and saying, I am enlightened, I take dominion over my cells. Whatever happens to me today happens for me today. And that means that when you go out to the world and things happen to you, brush it off your shoulder. Don't get so angry. Don't get so mad. Don't be shameful. Don't be guiltful. If so, go outside and hug a tree, go into nature. Nature's there to decode and help take these negative codes so you can make space. Remember, your soul cannot live in a polluted body. Your soul cannot live in a negative environment. So when you're bringing your soul, which is 5D consciousness, which is Christ consciousness, down into the body, you're reprogramming your cells, you're reprogramming your thoughts. And, when negative things start to happen in your life, know that you can reprogram that you can go and release those negative thoughts, release those negative codes, so go start doing the work. Don't doom
I have a
scroll
good
on the internet.
example.
Yeah, love it.
So look, when like this, the queen bee, all of the honeybees, they follow the queen bee. They're all around her, they follow her orders. And it's like a queen ant, the queen ant. They all go out and get food and bring it back to her. So they want to, your pineal gland is like I learned this from Bro Sanchez. It's like the queen ant, and everything follows around that. And if they attack the queen ant, then all the ants, they don't know what to do. They're scattered. So they want to scatter you by destroying that pineal gland. And that pineal gland, that's what releases melatonin. So how they're doing it is with the blue lights. In Las Vegas, they block all the windows from outside sunlight, and it's only blue light, and they get rid of the clocks, and that makes you disoriented, and it makes you up all day and night because you don't know what time it is. And also because the blue light they're giving you, it tricks you to think that so it stops you from producing your night regenerating processes and chemicals.
It's
Go
not
ahead.
allowing you to create the melatonin to get a good night's sleep. And also, what they have been doing, now that and become aware, Sabrina Wallace shares a lot about our electromagnetic fields and how we are nodes on the network, right? So what frequency are you giving off? And what they're doing, they're trying, but they're not going to succeed, right? Because we're going to shift this reality with not letting them program it. And we have to resonate at a certain frequency. That's why I say whatever resonates with you, keep, and whatever doesn't resonate with you, leave, right? So what they're doing is where the traffic lights are, they're actually putting in lower frequencies. So when you walk by these traffic lights, and they're putting them in New York, they're putting them in Chicago, they're putting them in California. And I shared it on my threads on Investing
Talking about those
Possibility.
infrared lights, kind of look like purplish.
Yes,
Oh yeah,
the purple infrared
you would think it's
lights.
cool, right? You would be driving.
No,
Man,
it's
this is kind of
ultraviolet
wild here.
light, not infrared.
Ultraviolet, yeah. It's ultraviolet. And that keeps you in a lower frequency. That keeps you in a trance. People, when I talk about
It keeps you
hypnotherapy,
zombified because
yeah,
your body doesn't know it's nighttime and it never regenerates. You're supposed to die every night and come back to life.
they mess with your circadian rhythm. And now when your circadian rhythm is off and you don't know yourself, you don't know that you have electromagnetic fields around you, the 7-foot radius around you. If you don't know who you are, you're easily manipulated. You're easily controlled, right? So when you're becoming aware, and aware is consciousness, when you become aware and you're out of the ignorant, and remember in the Bible, it says, ignorant of the law is no excuse. And that's why they say ignorant is bliss, because you're in a zombie state. You're in a zombie world. You're easily programmed, meaning you're less likely to stand up and revolt, right? Because we're having a revolution. We're in revelations. Revelations means that something is being revealed. The truth is being revealed to you. So we are in revelations. We are having a revolution because the truth is being revealed to us. And now we know with a certainty, right? Because we don't believe anything. It's either we know or we don't know, right? And, Tammy wrote a saying, faith it till you make it, right? Have faith. Your imagination is the best tool You know, there's a lot of people, there's NPCs that cannot imagine. Like when you say pink unicorn, I'm sure you just had a vision of a pink unicorn. If you didn't, then you're an NPC, meaning you cannot decipher this reality from imagination, that you think everything is real. But us becoming enlightened, now we know that our thoughts can create our reality. You know, Santos Bonacci talks about all is a tomb, all is atoms. A tomb is atom. And when you start to understand that your torus field and how it works, that it's electric and magnetic at the same time, right? Electric means giving out, magnetic means to pull in, right? Thank you, Divine, for sharing that and breaking that down in your book, in the Hearth book. And when you become conscious and aware that you are the creator, then you can now manipulate your reality how you like. Now you become the main character. Are you a side character, or are you the main character of your show? You could be a side character in somebody else's show and they could be the main character, but who are you being for yourself? Who are you being in your reality? You know, and Divine shares a lot on Ken Wheeler's work and how, you know, dielectric energy and how that flows in the torus field with the blue and the red. And it's all about magnetism and how everything is repelled or magnetic, right? So when you start to become conscious that we're all coded with all these different codes and that you can reprogram these codes, you learn how to become a coder, right? You learn how to become the programmer of your own reality. So start becoming conscious and become aware. You know, when reading is the best for you guys, for absorbing this knowledge. You know, KRS-One was sharing, the more words that you read, the more knowledge that you have.
Especially if you got pictures to go with those words. That's why my books
Exactly.
are going to have all
Divine,
these
can you show
pictures.
your book? Can you show pictures of your book and go in and show them, you know, the beautiful images you wrote on, you know, give them a visual of all is a tomb and the torus field. I think it was on page 33 or 41 or 52, if I can remember. Yeah, I read his book a lot. And I always like to show images of his book. Turn your camera
Check
on,
this
Divine,
out.
so
So
we can see your
look at
book.
this. Let me show you some drawings. Let me turn off the air back here. Hold up. All right, so check
Yeah,
this
his
out.
book is
So
amazing.
this is why the pharaohs wear that crown that they have, because it's like a cobra. It's those this is even how the temples, the doorways, if you look at the doorway, the lines are they start by going horizontal at the top and then it goes sideways. It's just like the pharaohs' helmets, whatever it's called, this thing. You'll see doorways that have that where the lines, it's like a Greece thing, the Greece temples, but it's also Egypt. And basically it's your torus field, your electromagnetic field, and on the earth it looks like this. So just what I showed you just now is also this right here. You see how there's an electromagnetic field that comes out of the top, and this is the dome of the earth itself. It's like this. So basically, your electromagnetic field, what my book does, which has never been done before, what Ken Wheeler talks about, but I think I perfected what Ken Wheeler talks about because he said he calls it the counter rotating fields. And I proved they don't go different ways, they go the same way. If you have a basketball and you spin it, if you look at it from the top looking down, it's going counterclockwise. But if you look at the bottom of it looking up, it's going clockwise. So clockwise and counterclockwise, the ball's still spinning in one direction around your finger.
I figured that out dealing with my hair, which is crazy because I spiral my hair clockwise, right? And
Yep.
left and right side, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm going the opposite way, but I'm going the exact same way. And when I realized that, that's when the torus field hit me, and it brought me to the pineal. And when you were speaking on the confusion, that that is another receipt of the confusion of life, because in ancient, even before ancient times, we did not speak with our mouths. We communicated telepathically. There's no way that, there was a English language, Arabian language, cuneiform language before there were people, before there were, not people, before there were living beings here. they had to communicate some type of way. We communicated telepathically, just like the bees and the ants. We all had that frequency, and we all knew who to go to because their frequency resonated a little higher than everyone else's. And it wasn't until we were confused and deceived by negative energy and negative entities that we had to start using our mouths to vibrate and use those same frequencies to communicate. And so I get that is very, that's a very powerful thing, which goes right back into my purpose. And I think I would hope is most other people's purpose is to get our freedom from this matrix in order to study, meditate, exercise, think, research, the things that we should be doing in life so we can get back to that power that we once, were able to harness. We still have it in us. It's dormant. And it's almost like quantum vision. Something isn't there until we acknowledge it.
It's called metaphysics. So quantum physics is actually, it's quantum mechanics. Quantum physics, it deals with quanta, which is counting. There's quantity and there's quality. Your magnetic field is pure qualitative. It's not quantitative. And the proof of that is before a magnet becomes a magnet, it doesn't weigh differently. So the magnet, all you do is you line up the atoms, and by changing the directions of the atoms, the entire magnet becomes magnetized because it's now the field around the magnet is amplified because each atom they're stacked on top of each other. So that's it. It's a qualitative coherence is what's happening. And if you put a lighter under a magnet, you can make the atoms unaligned and you will demagnetize the object and it won't stick to the fridge anymore. So that's how I say that the earth can't be a ball, because if we had magma, molten lava at the center of the earth, it would demagnetize the earth. When you put a magnet in
by default it would.
If you freeze a magnet, it becomes a super magnet. But if you heat it up, the atoms, they scatter just like water when it boils. They get crazy, and that means it's not a magnet anymore. You have to have that frozen, crystallized, lined up, perpendicular structure of all the atoms, because there is a north and south pole, but it just means this is called the right-hand rule of magnetism. If my fingers are curling this way, wherever my thumb is pointing is north. But if my fingers curl that way, then my thumb is pointing down, the North Pole is down then. You have to have all the North Poles up in so that's what it means when you meditate and you line up your chakras, you're actually just lining up your atoms. And the effect is you're lining up your chakras by lining up your atoms. Because when all your atoms are lined up, all your chakras are lined up. It's the same thing. You become a magnet. That's how if you put a magnet on a spoon, if you leave it there overnight and you take the magnet off, that spoon is now magnetized. The magnet influenced the atoms in the steel to now stick to other spoons. All your spoons will be clumped up. And you'll say, how the heck did my spoons all become magnets to each other? Because you can magnetize something and no weight changes. There's no quantitative difference. It's qualitative. It's the quality. So let me tell you this. When you're sad or when you're happy, your body doesn't change weight. You're going to weigh the same when you're angry, and you're going to weigh the same when you're happy. What's the difference? No, there's no quantitative difference, but there's a qualitative difference. Nobody wants to be around you when you're angry and pouting, but everybody wants to come up to you when you're smiling and happy and singing.
Unless it's those negative entities. And that's the key right there. You just said it, brother. No one of righteousness and positivity wants to be around that negative energy. But yet let that negative energy be vanguard energy. Oh, you got a bunch of right wing, let's go kill everything. We don't like it. They resonate with that, and they come in droves. It's much more difficult of a thing for righteous and positive energy to filter through what the chemtrail thickness of this ether we have now, as opposed to the negative energy. They figured out a way to reverse the polarity of negative and positive energy on this plane, to the point where when we can all do this right now. If we all start chanting something very negative, I guarantee you, either you can look out your window, wait for a phone call, or knock at the door, there's going to be some negative energy right behind it. When you are positive and you're literally just walking the earth, and you all know this, just like I know this, you will go to any place on this earth where there's nothing. 5 minutes later, there's something. Then there's more something. And there's more something. You will attract it without even speaking, just being there. And that's that difference between that negative and positive, frequencies that you're speaking of. Because I'm coming from Southside Chicago, so I resonate when I was younger, like it was guys that, you know, were been us no goodness at all. We're killers, we're drug dealers, everything, right? But the way they spoke, the way they moved, it resonated with us something decent because it was a negative energy. We were low vibrational, and that seemed like the positive thing to do because that's what we were magnetized to. It wasn't until you come of age, become a little mature, that negativity is constantly hitting your positive, your righteous being, and it's not now. It's not computing right. You like this math ain't math, and it's not who I truly am. You realize who you truly are, and now you go away from those things. Yet you still have that magnetism of negativity around you, and I guess that's what people talk about. You know, like what goes around comes around. Oh, it is gonna come back around, and it's only until, like you say, you put that heat to that magnetism and change that polarity and get that negative off you. But you're gonna have to understand the laws of life, and it's gonna have to come back around what you put out there. Now,
Yeah,
how you go ahead.
someone was I heard someone say you have to have a balance of give and take in your life. And I was like, wait a second. You have to give so much that that it circulates back to you and you receive. You never have to take at all. You just give, and because you give, the effect is you receive because you've given so much to people, people are bound to give back to you. So you don't have to give and take. That's just an excuse to take. Oh, I take as much as I give.
Yep, and when your
If you
hand,
really gave, you wouldn't have to take.
exactly, and when your hand is open, right? Because you're giving, that has an opportunity for you to be able to take. But and like karma is cause and effect. What are you causing? Because that is what is going to affect your reality. So if you're causing negative energies, then the universe doesn't speak emotions, right? But when we regulate our emotions, our anger, our rage, and our negativity, our negative thoughts, then can we be able to become aware that those are those negative frequencies that we're giving out. And that's why God says surrender to God, surrender, right? Because now you have your free hands open to be able to get what your effect is, right? And remember, if you hold on to that negative energy, that energy becomes stagnant. That's why we have to do the energy work. We are energetic, magnetic beings. So we
Yeah,
have
look.
to do the energy work. And I mean, daily. Yeah, you got it all. I love that saying, the not bam lam ram. Santos always preaches about that in balancing your chakras.
Yeah, it's Lam, Vam, Ram. I remember it because Lam is the lowest chakra. So Lam, Vam, Ram, and the heart is Yam. So let's do it like this. Lam, Vam, Ram, Yam, and that's Jesus.
Heart,
Jesus points to his heart and says, I am, which is Yam. And then it goes from green, it goes Ham, the throat, Ha, breath, Ham. After that, it's Aum, the third eye, and then it's silence. You don't say anything. And that's why in the Bible it said on the seventh day he rested. So there's nothing to be said.
So
On
is that why on the when he first came into the structure of the Bible, he said, "I am the Lamb of God." That makes a lot of sense to me now. Hearing you say Lamb
yep,
as being the first chakra,
because
I
it
am the
started
Lamb
at
of
the
God.
first,
I am,
started at the root.
well, yeah,
and
it's also because Jesus is when John sees Jesus, he says, "Look, it's the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world." Because when the sun enters Aries, the ram, it's no longer winter. The sun brought warmth back to us because we were just wintry and cold, and they thought it was the end of the world. They didn't think that, but you wouldn't like it. It's a rejoice that the lamb, every time the sun enters that lamb, it's the end of the wintry season. It's when the lambs come out. It's the rebirth, the blossoming season, they call it in
That's
Japan.
when the sun is risen.
But I was gonna
And
say,
that's why when the sun rises, that's when they have the most frequencies to absorb. You get the
on
most frequencies.
in the Bible, when Jesus cracks the seventh seal on the scroll, there's seven seals, which means there's seven stamps holding that scroll shut. When he opens the seventh seal to unroll the scroll, that's written on the front and back. When he cracks the seventh seal, it says it was silent in heaven for 30 minutes. So there you go. When we don't, it's silence on the seventh chakra. So of course, on the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven. So that just it has to do with the chakras. So that's why I say there's way too much. I know when people say, "Well, as above, so below." How do you believe Jesus was a metaphor, and you don't think he can have been, Jesus is the sun, born of Virgo constellation, but why don't you think Jesus was actually born of a virgin down here? Because if it happened up there, it happened down here. And I'm like, because He comes to town on a donkey. That's Sagittarius. He he he's betrayed for 30 pieces of silver, like Julius Caesar was betrayed for 20 pieces of gold. So it's just way too many. It's too many. That if anybody says that, that just means you haven't looked into it and you're always just gonna be, oh, what if this? Yeah, I thought that too. What if he was real? But it turns out he's not. And so there's way more to learn. We need to learn law. We need to his the way he saves us, not by him saving us. He saved himself, and that's the example. When they say Jesus is the way, he is. He didn't need a savior. He was his savior. So if he's the way and he saved himself, then do like him and save yourself as well. How hard is that to they think they need him? He didn't before Jesus, people were saving themselves. Because
Like I say, ye are not all kings, but ye are all gods. Like we like he said, we have the same power that God has to create, like you were saying, to invent. One of the Moorish principles is, you know, to be an inventor, to literally invent something, to leave a lasting mark on this earthly plane, to create something from seemingly nothing, and nothingness meaning the ether. Then our mind comes. Then we get a download from someone like you, or we resonate and we hear some thoughts, and boom, your interaction with us, Tara's interaction with us, will bring some adolescent mind right now to a majority side. It's like, whoa, what if I do this? Well, what if you go ahead, champ. We'll support you, and that's where that community comes in. That you have to have that support. That exactly that 333. You have to have it. That has to come, because your information and your knowledge is something that is bestowed upon you. Your spirit and your consciousness is a given. How you connect those two is the mathematics of it, is the supreme mathematics. That's the H2O, you know, bringing something perfect. When they say, you know, God is perfect, we can't be perfect. Why can't we? Why can't we perfect something? Why can't we? And I'm on that type of level. Like if we're listening to the Bible, and some people just started off literal, and then, you know, they went to saying it's a parable and all that. Well, forget all that. Let my mind think and explore and research and experiment. Those are parts of the human experience. When you go beyond that, and that's where I'm trying to get to, is when you take that human experience and you enhance it to the spiritual, and then you manifest. I mean, I still believe in the powers of, so if we have vibration, we've seen levitation, we've seen, like you say, the freezing of magnets and that new levitation magnetic propulsion they got. So there are things, go ahead with it. There's a guy I know named Doug Lindsay. He talks about structural water and 369 properties to that extent. That's where the key is. But if we understand our resonant frequency and how we resonate, how we vibrate, there's no limit to what we can do on this earth. There's no limit to what our physical vessels can be capable of. We just don't know how to tap into it. Yet when you touch somebody, you feel a spark. And we don't investigate that even more. Tripp?
Yep.
yeah,
Divine, and you explain that.
So this is the electromagnetic field. It curves and it curls. So it spirals out of the top, and then it spirals into the bottom, and then it spirals out of the bottom into the top. Why is that important? Because magnets don't just attract. People say magnetic as if it means attraction. Ken Wheeler said there is no magnetic attraction because the word magnetism means magnitude. It's the dimensional force that creates space. It's the spatial force. So magnetism creates magnitude, which means it's the repelling force, not the attracting force, because it creates volume. So the attracting force is dielectricity, or what they call gravity. That's gravitation, not radiation, which is what magnetism is. Magnetism is radiation. It's massless, weightless, substanceless energy. And they want to call it magnetrons, but Ken Wheeler said nothing's being released out of the magnet. The magnet, as long as it's repelling and attracting, it's not going to weigh less. There's no particles being emitted off of it. You know, you don't have to shake the particles or dust off the table or anything. So the point is that your magnetic field in the Bible, this is one of my favorite discoveries that I made. So in the Bible, it says that there's a dragon and it releases water out of its mouth, and the earth had to open its mouth to swallow the water that the dragon spew. So I drew it, and this is how my brain put it when I know magnetism, because I know we're not on a ball, and dragons are metaphorical. A dragon is just the fully evolved serpent. because the serpent doesn't have arms or legs, but a dragon is a serpent that has its arms and legs and its wings. In fact, in the Bible, when Satan got cast out of heaven, Satan was an angel. He was a dragon because the cherubim is the same as the seraphim. Seraphim are fiery flying serpents. That's what God sent down to kill, to hurt the Israelites when they look at when Moses took the Hebrews out of Egypt across the Red Sea to the desert. They said, "Why'd you bring us out here? We're going to die." He said, "If you don't believe in me, your God, you will be punished." So God made it rain the fiery flying serpents, which is seraphim, and they attacked the Israelites. And then Moses was instructed to build a staff with a serpent and said, "If you look at the staff, you'll be saved." Because the same serpent that bit you and poisoned you, by looking at it metaphorically, is by saying, by taking the same poison that killed you, that's called anti-venom. When you get bit by a snake, you have to know what snake bit you so you can receive the same venom from the same snake, a smaller dose of it to save you from the bigger dose that you just got. That's what it is. So that's why there's two serpents. One kills you, and the same one that killed you is the same one that can heal you. It's poison and cure. It just matters the dose, whether it's a poison or a cure. So now the seraphim are the fiery flying serpents, the dragons, and Ken Willer says that the dragon, it has to do with magnetism because the seraphim are the closest to God. There's orders of angels, and the closest ones to God are the seraphim, the fiery ones. And Ken Willer said that's what you look at when you see a black hole. This right here, a black hole is the same as when you look at a magnetic field under a magnetic field viewing device. So the black hole, I have it tattooed right here. There's like a disc. It's right here. There's like a line that goes through the black hole because that's the plane of inertia. That's the plane of inertia, which is why your Milky Way galaxy is a disk. So now the Bible, when it says that the dragon spewed water out of its mouth, I'm telling you that's magnetism because magnetism comes out. So the ether is the eater. It's the dragon that eats everything. But the fire that the dragon spews is that's why it's called a dragon, because it's dragon. And that's Ra, the sun. The sun Ra radiates. It's a dragon that releases, and it creates the magnetic field. So the waters that the dragon is spewing is the electromagnetic field waves. Those are the waters above. It's not actual water. So this dragon is pushing water out of its mouth. It's the invisible waters, the magnetic field, and the earth has to open its mouth, which means earth is just area. Santos said, we say heaven and earth, but back then it was Kronos and Rhea. We say Father Sky Heaven, but it's Father Time, actually. And then Mother Earth is Gaia, which is actually Rhea. So time, Kronos, is the dragon because it's eternal. It controls that which is born in time, dies in time. That's why Saturn eats his children. This is the dragon that eats and consumes itself, because Rhea is area, and without area, without range, let me tell you something. Without Rhea, the earth or the area, then the water wouldn't just, it's like you need to have space between the shower head and the drain. If you just bring the shower head down to the drain, there's no area, then that would be like a black hole where it doesn't allow space to happen. So you need space to create that magnetic field, because it means magnitude, volume, space. You need you need space. But Ken Willer basically says magnetism, everything physical, audible, and tangible is due to magnetism, and magnetism alone. Without magnetism, there would be no space. There would be, so that's why it's important to know. I know for a fact that magnetism is the release of energy. Energy can't be created or destroyed. And in science, they'll tell you that the inner volume of your atoms is nothingness, but it's ether. It's this invisible dragon that releases the waters and it consumes itself. And it's not like, it's like this. Your heart. This is why it's called Hearth, because I said, wow, this proved it to me. I said, why else does your heart do this? Your heart releases red blood arteries out of one side, and it brings in the blue blood veins in the other. That's your heart is like your magnetic field. You can't see it, but the proof of it is your heart, because your heart, what your heart is doing is what your magnetic field is doing. It's what your atoms are doing. So I said, wow, No wonder you have the heart at the center of your body. Like they say, the earth has a core that produces the electromagnetic field around it, which protects us from the sun's rays or would we be burned up. We have to have this cocoon of magnetism being produced by the core. Well, it's called your corazon. So we're little mini earths. And so the red arteries, your heart is not just a pump, it's a vortex because whatever goes out has to come back in. So that's the dragon spewing blood out is the arteries coming out of your heart, and the earth consuming the waters is the veins. So we have different words, dragon and earth, but it's the same thing. It's your heart that releases the red and your heart that brings in the blue. It's not even red and blue blood. It's just oxygenated and deoxygenated. One has oxygen, one doesn't have oxygen, but it's the same blood. So your magnetic field, the repelling force is just, it's the release of inertia, and the attracting force, gravitation, is the return of that. So it's just like a rubber band. You're pulling it and you're letting it go and it snaps back into place and you're pulling it. And so just me knowing this is that it's infinite. If your heart stops, you have children that have your DNA and their heart's pumping. No matter what, someone's heart's going to be pumping. And what I mean by that is men's sperm count is lowering. They're taking away our humanity, our what makes us human is our naturalness. And if anything's natural, it's eternal. So even though you don't live eternally, you have the ability to have infinite generations after you, and you come from infinite generations behind you. So we do what the universe does. Like the Milky Way, the black hole is always sucking things in, but it's also creating matter as it's destroying its own matter. So what I'm saying is your heart is doing that. Your heart is creating the new oxygenated blood, and then it eats it up again. Your heart is a little black hole because it's constantly creating and destroying itself or eating itself. And that's what your atoms are doing. Your atoms are little torus fields, and they're doing what your heart does. It's just recycling it's recycling itself. So the ether proves that. So when they tell us that between us and the moon, there's nothingness, how can rockets push through? The rocket needs air to push against. If there's no air out there, then the rockets would just be pushing fuel out the back end, but they wouldn't be moving. You have to have something to push against. So it's just a complete lie. And that's why my book it's not just my theories, my studies. It's like, it's really for my son, because like you said, we are our children's greatest teachers. So I'm teaching my son, if you can either, take in what I say with a grain of salt, or believe the schools when they tell you that the inside of your atoms is nothingness and the outside of the earth is pure nothingness and it goes out for infinity. So they're telling you infinity exists, but it's infinite nothingness. No, it's infinite energy. Energy is infinite, not nothingness. So, and your energy, you are not your body, you're the soul. So it's just like, when we remember and we say we have past lives, it's because it's not it's a fact that this is not our first time. But when you say people know that they've been here before, they remembered and everyone else didn't. It's not that they were here before and you weren't. Everyone was here before. We're not our bodies. It's just, do you remember or not? And it's not even if do you remember, like just wake up and remember. You realize it by learning, by studying, and you can realize that. You don't have to wake up to it. You can just learn that over time and you can realize it. And that's what realization is. Aha, that's what enlightenment is. That's what awakening is. It's you were asleep because you didn't remember. It's like they say that 10% of your brain is only active and the rest is junk DNA, but it's just dormant, which means dormido, it's asleep. So you have to wake up that sleeping DNA and boom. That's why DNA, thank you, Santos, it's divine natural activation. Activate your natural divinity by remembering, by studying, by learning. And that's how you become more divine, because it means whole. You're not separated. You're actually integrating. That's the holy science, is to become whole. Santos said, I don't want to come back to Earth anymore. He's like, I just want to learn everything and go back to source where I came from. But I'm pretty sure as much as I love him and agree with him, I think the truth is the truth I know that he's gonna find out is that coming back here is it's not that you don't want to come back here. It's not a prison planet. It's just ignorance exists, but he is just it just sucks. I hope he's alive still, because he's so much older than us. I hope he's alive to see that it's not something to run away from this earth or to be tired of. It's tiring, but he actually made it possible for the rest of us to not feel that way. Like it's like Jesus died for our sins. Well, he went through all the horrible, like the dark age of the earth to bring the golden age. You won't have the gold. There has to be a little white dot in the black swirl of the yin and yang and a black dot in the white swirl. There's always someone who brings everyone down with them, but there's always someone who brings everyone up. And so it's like all of us light workers are just the white dot in the in the dark age. We're the little bit of light because we're light workers. That's gonna spark the glow that we need to go back to. That's what it is. You just, all you need is a little flame, a little bit of oxygen, and that little spark can ignite the entire haystack, right? So that's all it is. It's just
and light is, from my knowledge, info, and it's data, and it's knowledge. And the shadow, the darkness, is the lack of knowledge, is the void, is the dark. And that's why I always say I do my best work in the dark, because that's where I'm able to create. That's where I'm able to give the light. That's where I'm able to share the knowledge. That's why I'm able to share and know this, right? Because you can't know and believe something at the same thing. I know that I am the light. I know that I'm receiving these codes because our DNA is divine. What did you say, divine? It's divine something activating, our divine knowing activating, or something like
divine
that.
natural activation, DNA.
DNA is divine nature activating, natural activating. And it's because you're activating your DNA codes. You're activating your blood. Your blood, that's why they attacked us with COVID, because they wanted to get the jabby jab in your blood, right? They wanted to get that nanotechnology that's in your blood. Divine also wrote an amazing book called Transhumanism, Transcending Humanism. And he wrote that book a while ago. And his book explains how they are dehumanizing us, right? The masses. And knowing that it's just nanotechnology, we can all detox from these heavy metals, because God made a beautiful body. God made this body to be able to heal. In the Art of War, it talks about how Chinese doesn't believe in surgeries, because once you open up the flesh and oxygenize the blood, that means you're polluting the blood. So they always thought that you could create your body with thoughts, that you could create new things. When you become aware and you have this knowledge, you can heal your body. Joe Dispenza talks about how he had a broken back and the doctors told him he wasn't going to walk, and that he was supposed to have this major surgery, but if he went through the surgery, then he could have died. So what he started doing was started meditating, started fixing his own electromagnetic field. And now he's walking and talking. And, whether anybody feels whatever they feel about him, at least he gave us some good knowledge, right? Because a lot of people think that he's an op. Some people don't, and that's okay. That's your perspective, and your whatever resonates with you, take, and whatever doesn't, leave it. But when our thoughts create this reality. So if you believe that you're not going to get well, then you're darn right, you're not going to get well. If you believe that you're going to have a bad day, just know that you're going to have a bad day. You could shift those realities, become the light. That's why you got to fill your cup up. Fill your cup up with knowledge, fill your cup up with light. And through Christ consciousness is this able to happen. Divine was talking about semen retention and how we have Kundalini energy. And he has it in his book, in the Hearth book, that our 33rd vertebrae, that's why Jesus died at 33, because that's when he became enlightenment. That's a parable to raising your Kundalini energy from your lower chakra to your higher chakra. That's why when you become enlightened, you create a lotus on the top of your crown chakra, because you are enlightened.
I got the perfect example for that. Look, this is the best way to understand that. So, and before Jesus, people were saving themselves like this. This was an Egyptian symbol, and it's not literal, but they say that your heart is weighed against your feather. So they don't pull your heart out of your chest and put it on a balance scale and say, let's see if your heart weighs more than the feather. Of course it is. Every heart weighs 7 pounds, and a feather is less than a pound. So, and it's an ostrich feather. It's the feather of Ma'at. So it's the scales of Ma'at. And I say that Ma'at is where we get the word mother and math. Ma'at is where we get the word matrix. So Ma'at deals with Mother Earth. She's the mother, because Mother Nature, the golden age is ruled by the golden rule, which is treat others the way you want to be treated. It's equal. So Mother Nature is the true ruler. So when we say go back to matriarchy, we're not saying we want queens to rule over men, because right now men are ruling over the world. It's not that we want a woman ruler instead of a man, because all presidents of America have been white, have been men. We want Mother Nature to rule over all men and women, not just women to be the queens and get rid of the king and have the White House only with women. We're saying Mother Nature is the real ruler because she distributes everything equally with no biasness, no prejudice. You go up to a tree and grab a fruit, and you don't have to put money in like a vending machine. And if you don't have money, you can't get none. Or if you're a certain culture or race, you don't get none. It's Mother Nature provides for everyone equally. So only man and woman distributes thing how they want to distribute things. So back to matriarchy is Ma'at, Mother Earth, but also it's Ma'at, which is math and measurement and ruling. And a ruler should rule everything equally. That's not a ruler is supposed to measure things and balance things. Like this would be it's not a ruler, which is a stick, but it's a measuring tool, the balance scale. So the heart against a feather is this. When you die, if you have anger, anger is like the word anchor. Thank you, bro Sanchez, because anger will anchor you down and you will not ascend, meaning heaven is supposed to be it's like the physical world, but with less limitations. The spiritual world is literally the same as this, but you don't get tired, you don't get hungry, you don't get depressed. It's just pure positivity if you can imagine that. But so the point is this, is that you don't experience that unless you vibrate high. Because if you die with anger, like revenge, and this is the reason why Jesus had to forgive his enemies on the cross after they whipped him and torched him and put thorns on his head. He said, I still forgive you. I still love you because you don't know any better. So if he didn't forgive them, he wouldn't be able to ascend. So it's just going back to Egypt, where your heart must be lighter than a feather. You can't have hatred, anger, or any of the negative emotions, because it'll limit you. You have to have unconditional love to go back to your unconditioned self. Because in
The
this
true definition of a king, servant leadership. Servant leadership. If you can't serve, like you were saying, a matriarch, a mother, she nurtures, she protects. But we think that, as a feminine understanding, but a king, just like that nurturing mother, they go across the land and treat everybody with that same energy that he has for himself. What do you need? What can I do for you to make your life better? What can I do for you as a man to keep your manhood in your house? A king will come past a family squabbling, and he wouldn't break it up or be the judge, jury, bailiff, and all laws. No, the king comes with advice and asks that man, hey, how can I serve you to make sure you and your family is okay, and how can your family look at you like they look at me? That's what servant leadership comes in at. That's what he's saying, that matriarch understanding how to live on this earth is to follow Mother Earth, is to follow nature. Yeah. I try to break it down to 2 + 2 = 4. If you can get down to the common denominator, then even if you are spiritually intelligent, you can be spiritually resonating. You know what I mean?
Thank you, Kevin. I love that when you speak because it shows me that it's resonating with you. I'm going to be ending this call in a little bit, and I just want to thank you guys for all being here. Divine, can you explain to the community how to get in touch with you and how to get the Hearth book, and how do you want them to go about purchasing it? And, just explain. I'm going to wrap up the show right now. I just noticed it's been a couple hours. But go ahead and Divine and share a little bit more on, your Hearth book and how to get in contact with you. And
So
go ahead and share.
So basically it's just DivinebeingDivine.com. Right now it's just a PDF, and I need to get a lot of money so I have so many books I want to put out, but I have to make sure I copyright them all because I don't want them to get stolen like my first book right now. My book is on Amazon, but I won't get money for it unless you get it directly through me. But even if you get the Amazon one, listen, I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm going to end up suing this guy. So go get it from him because he has a physical book. And I'd rather you guys have that than the PDF file. It's like 400 pages of scrolling. I'd rather you have the physical book. So anyways, he's basically selling my book for me right now. He doesn't know it. So I don't get money for it, but I'd rather you have that information. So whether you want to get it from me or from him, the knowledge is there and it'll come back to me anyway. Because I know I did the hard work for that book. So I should get paid for it, and I will when I prove that I wrote it in court because I have the original copy here. Um, Yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot going on about your book, but
Santos, he had like over 12 years of videos where each video was over an hour long. I would watch each video and summarize that to a page or to a minute on my TikTok. So I'm basically just I'm gathering Santos and other people like Manly P. Hall, Ken Willer, uh, Bill Donahue, Jordan Maxwell, Stan Tenen, etc. And I'm bringing it to you. I'm just surfacing this information. I'm even adding my own stuff to it. So like I hate saying like it just sucks because this knowledge is it's just it's the truth that will set you free, and I want to liberate the world because why not? Like the truth is, here's my thing. I just want to get rid of the upper lower middle class because that gap is unnecessary. I want abundance for all of us, and we need to all be equal, and nobody should be poor or rich or own more land than the other. I mean, I feel like if you did the work, you raked the leaves and you planted it, then it's yours. But you can't just claim things like why would one person have 100,000 acres? You're not even gonna walk on that your whole life. Like there'd
And
be
not to
areas
talk
that
your ear off, not to talk your ear, bro, but that's a perfect understanding of life itself. There are people that love building. There are people that love doing other things. Yet, because there is levels and status and all that, there are people that are made to do stuff that other people love, and people that love it, they can't go into that realm because they're in a corporate society and they have to be stuck there because of whatever, you know, dichotomy that they're in. So I get exactly what you're saying, brother. Like if everybody was on that abundance level, the people that love building houses, guess what? We have the most amazing effing houses. They wouldn't be worried about I'm only going to do it like this because of this money. The people that love taking care of people, the people that love taking care of animals, we would. And I had this thought about what you were saying. I'm like, well, if we are all abundance, no one would do shit. That's bullcrap. Because the people that love doing stuff and their passion, they would still do those things. Veterinarians would still be vets, the ones that want to take care of animals. The computer programmers, the people that are resonating with that. So I'm not talking your ear off, but I'm with you on that. I'm with you.
And I just wanted to say that it just sucks that I have to do this, but like my book is making this other dude millions, whether it's from my book itself or using my book to promote his website where he makes his millions. And we were supposed to be partners. I don't care about money. I just people think he wrote my book. So all I'm saying is that this knowledge is really wealth. So I want people to be wealthy with knowledge. But it just sucks that how do I what do I even say here? Like I don't want to make this about like it's depressing and it sucks because literally like I'm broken homeless because of
He's
it.
perverting your natural spirit, and that's what I mean. To pervert, not in a bad way, not in a P Diddy way, but to pervert just means to change. To manipulate means to change it, to do something that it wasn't originally meant for. You didn't originally mean for it to be took, sold, and solicited and monetized. You meant for it to enlighten.
And
So
my
in that,
point is that why does he deserve to get the money from it when I did the hard work? So it's like I don't want money, I just want what's right. It's wrong, it's more wrong for him to accept all that money than the rightful person. And I would
and
actually
he's not accepting it. What you say? He's taking. And what did you say about taking? We're not supposed to take. He literally taking. So when he gets his toroidal field coming back, oh, it's gonna be taken. You know what I mean? So you already got your math right. Like you said, go ahead, run it up for him now because that ain't nothing but an extra trust account that you finna go ahead and take hold of. Let
that's
me
right.
rub that.
And that's
He
why
gonna
we're
put a
learning
lien on
law.
his whole life and he ain't gonna understand nothing about it. My minister, my mentor B, he said something the other day when we were scrutinizing someone else's private work. He said, hey, I don't care what you guys do. You come after anybody in Michael, I'm going to show you what trust power really is. So I understand that when people know something, they can take your life from you. So you good. You and your mathematical spiritual, journey, you good. Let them run it up for you.
And last thing, I have drawing those are my drawings. So that's why my book is important because I can show you better than I can tell you. I didn't just gather people's knowledge and oh, like it's mine. I credit people I source people who I learn from and then I draw for you. So that art is freaking amazing. I think everyone should have it. But
yeah,
that's why I said get
I
that
have the
physical book.
PDF. So if you guys want to get the PDF, I'll put it in the Telegram group, or if you guys want to send a donation to Divine, I'll put his, reach out to me. I have his information. And if you guys want to donate for the PDF, you would be helping out the author of the Hearth book, Divine Being Divine. And, I'm just going to cut this short because I want other people to, go on with their day and stuff. And you and I can keep talking. But, I just want to thank everybody for being here. And I just want to thank you guys again for showing up. And if you guys want to give any donations to me, my links are in the bio. If you want to get donations for the Hearth book and for Divine, reach out to me and I'll be glad to, you know, give you guys his information, and you guys want to connect with him, connect through his website. A lot of his pages have been censored. They have been suspended. So I just want to let you know that he is starting a new page and he is going to be getting out there more. And, you know, a lot of the people out there are stealing his information, are coming out with lies about him. I can say firsthand, I saw with my own eyes him creating this book in the basement. I was on his lives as I was watching Santos Bonacci's videos. And I've been there in the trenches with him. I've seen the whole process happen. So I stand with Divine being divine. And I love him wholeheartedly. And I thank you guys all for being here. And, you know, all of this connects with trust law. Your word is your bond. And what are you creating? Who are you becoming? So start doing homework and start manifesting your reality every day, every moment. Every time you have a heartbeat, you have a decision. So go ahead and start, you know, I got to practice what I preach, right? Because I'm showing up for you guys as the community and I'm creating the space for you guys to expand consciousness. And, you know, with all of you guys showing up in the community and on my Instagram and, you know, the YouTube videos and leaving comments, you know, that supports this mission. And if you can't donate, just send a, you know, congratulations, you guys amping us up, letting us giving us feedback lets us know that we're on the right track and that we are on the correct mission for you guys, because we've already learned this knowledge. We've already gone down the rabbit holes of this knowledge. We've already come out of the rabbit holes to give you guys the knowledge, right? So we're doing a lot of energy work and we're creating this space for you guys. So anything you guys can donate, whether it's a thank you, whether it's monetary, whether it's, you know, in prayer, that matters, you know? And I'm just thank you guys for all being here. And Tammy, if you want to say any last words or if you want to end the recording, you can.
Yes, thank you all for being here. If you guys are interested in anything credit on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I go over credit. It's the same link. And we will see you all back on next Saturday at 2 p.m. Thanks for showing.